I think numbers tell a story. I'm a great believer that numbers tell a story, and so I wanted just to highlight some numbers that I think are really quite depressing. So these are the Eurozone youth unemployment numbers. They were out last week. They were referred to by Mario Draghi at his ECB press conference today. 3.6 million people under the age of 25 in the Eurozone are without work. That's a quarter unemployment rate of 25%. In Greece, it's almost 60%. In Spain, over 55%. More than half of the under 25 population that wants work cannot find a job. And in Italy, it's almost 40%. I fear that we are damning a generation. I'm often in cabs in London, whizzing around, Addison Lee cabs in particular. And on 2 days, the first day I was in a cab with an IT professional. He was the cab driver, and he'd got a degree, spent about 8 years in IT at a primary care trust. And when he was made redundant in the first wave of public sector cuts, he couldn't find another job, and so had gone into cabbing. The next day I was in a cab, and the driver this time had 2 degrees in building services. He was a building services engineer, and again had lost his job in the first round of cuts about 3 or 4 years ago when the property boom really did start to bust, and again couldn't get a job in his chosen profession. I was also sitting next to a lady on a train, and she was a trained sociologist, had 2 degrees, I think she had a master's as well, and she was currently working as a secretary. And I think, what does this tell us? One, this tells us I chat to people as I'm out and about, but it also tells you, in real terms, what we talk about when we meet an output gap. Because for all 3 of these people, highly educated, highly productive, potential of being highly productive people, it would not be many more months or years when they couldn't go back to their chosen productive profession. I think we all know the story with Greece. But I don't think I think we just need to look at these numbers and just remind ourselves of how brutal it has been. 2009, 3% contraction. 2010, 4.85% contraction. 2011, over 7%. 2012, over 6%. 2013, according to Bloomberg estimates, over 4%. And still in 2014, estimates are for a contraction to the Greek economy. I cannot believe that what is being imposed in Greece is the solution. To be very wary of this currency depreciation boosts the UK economy. If you compare the UK to the US, the dollar has depreciated over the last 4 or 5 years, something like 20%. And US exports over the same time period are up 70%. Marvellous. Just what you want to see. If you look at the UK, the sterling has depreciated about the same amount, a 20% depreciation. And yet our exports are only up, there was an anomaly in one of the years, but our exports are only up like 10 to 15%, depending on exactly when you choose the data point. And that, to me, is the fundamental problem when everybody starts talking about boosting competitiveness of the UK. Well, sterling weakness isn't doing it. So if you're going to take the risk of depreciation, the inflation risk, make sure you get the benefit, make sure you get the return. Finance is all about risk return. So you're taking the risk of inflation, but you're not getting the return because the exports aren't boosted. To me, that's a lousy trade.